it's Shocktober, and when it's Shocktober, that means that you watch scary movies. Now, there's a million ones that you can check out, but I'm specifically going to talk about a bunch that Vinegar Syndrome is releasing this month. Now, Vinegar Syndrome is one of my favorite Blu-ray companies. They go and they save forgotten films, do new scans, clean them up, add tons of contextual special features, and package them so they look beautiful on the shelf. And this month, they're doing only horror movies. And I'm going to talk about all of them because I bought all of them because I trust Vinegar Syndrome to give me some entertaining product. Not always good, but entertaining, which is really the most important thing at the end of the day. So this month, it starts off with Killing Birds. Now, this one is a little bit infamous because it's been released as Zombie 5 Killing Birds. And like a lot of sequels when it comes to Italian films, it has nothing to do with the stuff that's come out before, nothing to do with Lucio Fulci's Zombie, technically Zombie 2, nothing to do with Zombie 3 or Zombie 4, those ones directed by Bruno Mattei and Claudio Fargasso. No, this one is a Joe D'Amato production. So, if people don't know, Joe D'Amato was a very prolific Italian horror exploitation pornography director, and for a little while he and his film company went to North America and decided to make American films. But what you get is a case of weird otherness because everyone isn't quite acting correctly, the dialogue is off. It looks like an American film, it's shot in America, everyone's speaking English in sync sound, so why does it feel so odd? And that's what I love about a movie like Killing Birds. Now, this is not a classic by any stretch of the imagination. It is credited to director Claudio Lattanzi, but it is believed that Joe D'Amato actually did most of the shooting in this. And it is called Killing Birds, and birds do deal out some violence in the opening scene, a brutal opening where a unseen figure goes and murders his wife that he catches sleeping with another man, and then he himself gets his eye gouged out by one of the birds, but that's basically the end of on-screen bird violence. It's the plot of a bunch of college students that go on a research trip to find out a rare species of bird or something like that. The plot doesn't matter. What matters is this essentially turns into a weird, hallucinatory budget version of Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. Zombies do show up. There is like an unkillable, undead serial killer. Basically, all the characters get brutally murdered one after the other until almost no one is left, and it kind of sputters to an end. That's the one thing that bugged me about this, is that it doesn't have a big climactic finale, but all that, beautiful, dreamlike logic that you see in a lot of Italian films can be found in The Killing Birds. And as far as packages go, this one has an interview with the writer-director Claudio Lattanzi, a video interview with the sound man, and a brand new audio commentary with Sam Dan. I'm probably saying that name incorrectly. She is one of the best audio commentators around. She knows her stuff, and I'm definitely going to be checking out that track. Now, moving on, we have Memorial Valley Massacre, aka just Memorial Day, which is how it's credited at the beginning of this. Now, this one is directed by Robert C. Hughes, and it's known as one of the lesser-loved slashers, but it does have a great gimmick, which is that the killer is a caveman. And he looks kind of scary on this cover, but in the actual film, it's just some dude in a big wig wearing Flintstones clothes with big buck teeth. And, this looks a little bit scary. He's coming out of the dark. Not in the movie. Right away, you see him walking around during the day, the caveman killer, I mean, and being scared by a bunch of dogs. This is essentially about a campground that opens up, and they run into the caveman who starts killing people. It's not particularly violent, but it does have that kind of down-home regional horror filmmaking feel, which I love, and that regional feel kind of extends in the way that it doesn't really know how to play a slasher film out. This ends with a big dramatic moment where the killer doesn't even get killed, but you're supposed to feel bad for him. As per usual, there's tons of special features, including an interview with the director, Robert C. Hughes, an interview with an actor, and of course, this has been remastered from the 35mm negative, so it has never looked better. And then we have a film that it's not close to my heart because I had never seen it before Vinegar Syndrome had put it out, but it's produced by someone that is. And that is good old Charlie Band. Yes, Spellcaster is a film from his Empire days. And what's notable about this one is that it went through many, many hands as far as screenwriting goes before it ended with Dennis Paoli, who is probably most famous for writing the H.P. Lovecraft adaptations like From Beyond and Dagon. And here it's definitely a for-hire job, but it's the kind of junk that is just super fun, especially when it looks this good. The plot's about a bunch of people that go to a weird haunted castle, probably Charles Band's castle that he owned himself, to find $1 million prize. But uh-oh, they gotta watch out because around the castle, anything can kill them. It feels like special effects head John Carl Buechler just went in his warehouse and picked up whatever random stuff he had out of their design and hadn't got picked, or just made modifications to the thing, because what ends up killing people is a killer chair, a dog monster, there's also zombie-like things, there's a medieval knight suit that comes alive, and then like this big claw thing comes out and bites somebody. This one was directed by Rafal Zelensky, and if you don't recognize that name, that's because he's mostly associated with doing sex comedies like the classic Porky's ripoff Screwballs. And by classic, I mean like way lower tier. He kind of brings a very odd energy to it. A little bit unfortunately when the killing things always feel the need to rip off the women's clothes before they finally get it. And because he comes with a bit of an arch tone, the violence is weirdly out of place because it's so comedic all the rest of the time. But then when somebody gets their head crushed, you will see that head get crushed. Again, like Killing Birds, the ending really leaves something to be desired, but everything leading up to that is tons of fun. And when it looks this good, it actually makes the experience that much more fun, especially when you have a film that is shot by Sergio Salvati, the guy who did Zombie and The Beyond, the two classic Lucio Fulci films. And finally, we have something awesome. And it's awesome because it's not an Italian horror film, it's not an American horror film, it's a Mexican horror film. And so Mexico has an amazing genre output, but it really hasn't gotten the distribution that it deserves in North America. This one, which is called Grave Robbers, is directed by Ruben Galindo Jr. And before Vinegar Syndrome put this out, I actually had not seen this film, but I had seen the director's other picture, Don't Panic, which can only be described as like Freddy Krueger if it was shot like an after-school special. And what's great about Grave Robbers is that it is a slasher film, with the killer being an undead, reincarnated Satanist worshiper, but he's also kind of like Jason and Jason Lives. He's this hulking giant guy. And in that classic Mexican style, everything is thrown at the wall. You think it's going to follow a certain group of characters, but then it switches over to another group, and then all of them get killed, and suddenly it's a film about a police detective. Some people don't like those kind of switches in tones and perspective, but for me, I love it. I love to be surprised as things just happen. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm going in this direction, especially when it delivers like it does in this movie. This has some great gore scenes, and by the end, when there's like a weird exorcism and everything is on fire, you know you've seen something that's just great horror gold. I mean, I hope that Vinegar Syndrome and other companies are going to jump on the Mexican bandwagon. I know that Vinegar Syndrome is also putting it out Cemetery of Terror next month by the same director, but I don't know why Don't Panic hasn't been touched yet. I know that film has been scanned by AGFA, and they do put it up for distribution, so maybe another company owns the rights, and that's coming in our near future. But if there's other Mexican horror films that are going to be hitting the market, I am definitely going to be there. So October's haul from Vinegar Syndrome, at least all of their official releases, is tons of fun, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. If I had to pick a favorite one, it would definitely be Grave Robbers, but the other ones are all different in their own way. And I should also point out that Spellcaster is a Vinegar Syndrome archive release, which means it comes in a cool VHS-style box, which is very difficult to put the Blu-ray in. I always get the top stuck, and is limited to 4,000 copies. And that may seem like a lot, but I know some of their early releases, like Evil Town, are out of print, and they go for like $100. So if this movie interests you, I would recommend checking it out. Also, I love that the original VHS box set that has the Mexican art on it is available by flipping the inside thing here. I'm not a huge fan of slipcases, But the Vinegar Syndrome ones are really nice, and they always make sure that it's unmarked so it looks individual, and you can always flip the plastic case into a different cover. If you'd like some more horror movie reviews, make sure to subscribe to this channel, and you can follow me on the Important Cinema Club podcast, where I talk about a new subject with my co-host Will Sloan every week, or check out the Bay Street Video podcast, where me and Mark Hansen, the product manager of the brick and mortar video store, Bay Street Video in Toronto, Canada, talk about all the week's new releases on Blu-ray DVD. Yes, we go through all of them, and that is also posted weekly. Again, don't forget to subscribe. It is right there in the corner, and I would really appreciate it if you clicked it. Until next time, stay scared! Or, stay spooky. Either one works.